The Buccaneers have finally landed a pass rusher. Oh my goodness, it was much of a need, and sure enough, they did grab one. It might be a sneaky steal for the Bucs, certainly monetarily, but we're going to give our thoughts on that. The Bucs, Jason Light, feel pretty strongly about what they just added in that pass rush room. Also, too, the Buccaneers did make some other moves in the defensive line, specifically on the interior as well. We're going to talk all about these moves all across the board. Also, too, we'll have some contract updates for some of these players that have signed with the Bucs, and also, too, some updates on Mike Evans, his contract there with the 49ers, because the last time we spoke with you guys, we did not know the numbers yet. But now we do know that, along with Mike Evans talking about why he specifically decided to leave the Bucs to go to the 49ers. Also, another team that he was looking into signing with potentially. But there was some interesting words also said about, why he picked the 49ers over the Bucs, and might have been kind of a gut punch to the Buccaneers fan base as well. But with me this morning, and happy Friday to everybody, Caleb Skinner, our veteran writer at BG, and then our editor at BG, River Wells. Gentlemen,
That's
happy
me.
Friday. It's a beautiful day here in the Bay to begin the weekend.
It is. Most certainly is.
Yep.
It's hot now. It's hot again. Yeah.
Yep. That didn't last long.
What's the
temp
temp looking at for you up there in Boston, Caleb?
We've got sunshine. We had a couple days in the 60s this week, so that was nice. Snow's almost all completely melted and gone.
Yeah.
Enjoying it. It's nice. Getting a little chillier, this upcoming week here, but which is fine and good. The sun's shining, so can't complain. I'm in a sweatshirt. I'm not having to put a beanie on, so I'll get through it.
Shout out to Madden here, our first commenter on the show, saying, love the show. Let's go Buccaneers. Also to Blink coming in here saying, go Bucs. It's a great Friday, and there's been a lot of moves as well. River, you're going to a concert tonight over here in St. Pete.
I am.
Caleb's got a dinner date with the lady, and I might go to a brewery later. So this is a nice relaxed Friday for us, but it has been very, very busy, and who knows?
It's a great day to have a great day. Yeah.
It's a great day to have a great day, get busy too as well, and enjoy the weekend. But let's go ahead and jump into the biggest things, and this is kind of going to be an open discussion between all of us on here because there's a lot of things that have happened. But I think we start off, of course, with the signing here for the Bucs, with AQ Muhammad coming in from the Lions. This one was one that we were all watching because earlier on, I believe it was Greg Allman that had reported that he was coming in for a visit yesterday morning. And then when that usually happens, certainly for a veteran, you're looking like in the next couple hours he is going to sign with that team. And sure enough, he has signed a 1-year deal for $6 million. Now, there is a lot of incentives in there, and I'm sure River has the details more further on that. But initial thoughts on this one: 11 sacks last year for the Lions, and someone that was, of course, behind Hutchinson and didn't play as many snaps, but his efficiency rate is something that really stands out. And when you're looking at his stats, gentlemen.
For sure. You mentioned those contract details. That is a base salary of $4 million, chance to get to $6 million with incentives. So wow. Pretty nice deal there. Muhammad has played some pretty good football. Like you mentioned, high pressure guys in Detroit last year. Definitely had the help of Aiden Hutchinson. Going to give you a little bit of an advanced metric stat here, courtesy of Simmer Sports. When he's on the field without Aiden Hutchinson, that is negative 0.083 EPA per play. Remember, for defense, it's better to be negative because you're preventing the offense from scoring points. With Aiden Hutchinson on the field, it is negative 0.240 EPA per play. So that's 3 times higher whenever Hutchinson was on the field. He is a supplementary rusher. He works best when he has another dominant edge rusher on the other side of him to where he can help get those sacks and clean up. A lot of his sacks kind of came in bursts. He had 3 against the Cowboys in week 14. He had 2 against Minnesota in week 17. He had 2.5 against Baltimore in week 3. So not necessarily a consistent band across the board, but if you're picking up sacks, you're picking up sacks. And it seems like he can really affect individual games at a high level. So I think if you get an edge rusher in the draft, which you're going to have to, right? I think at this point, everybody knows what the first pick the Bucs have. They're going to pick an edge rusher. You'll have that rookie. You'll have Yaya Diaby, and then behind him, will be Al-Quadin Muhammad. So I think that would make him a good signing in that case as a really, really strong rotational edge rusher that can come in and help assist those other two guys on the field. Veteran presence, play a lot of football. We were talking about this right before I hopped on, but part of that ridiculous 2017 New Orleans Saints draft class with Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, Marcus Williams, Alvin Kamara, Alex Anzalone, another current Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and Trey Hendrickson at the third round there, and then Al-Quadin Muhammad. So crazy, crazy draft class. Certainly they won a Super Bowl off of that. But yeah, absolutely insane. But he's played some good football, man. He has veteran presence, helped out Aiden Hutchinson last year. Really good technician to make up for his lack of athleticism. And it should be a decent signing for the Bucs, I think.
Yeah, agree. Not necessarily the guy that every Buccaneers fan,
Right.
wanted. Not the splash name, not the uber athletic, uber talented guy that everybody wanted to bring in here, including myself, right? Like there's these names out there that we all wanted. We all wanted the Bucs to go get a legit number one, edge rusher there to pair Yaya, but solid guy around. He's going to be, like Matt said, an upgrade over Braz and probably Anthony Nelson, which is good. You're obviously going to be looking at a first round pick now of an edge rusher. So you're going to be improving. How much you're improving, I'm not real sure. We'll have to wait and see how that transpires. But good metrics overall, still negative even without a guy like Aiden Hutchinson there. But it's going to be interesting to see because he did excel so well next to Aiden Hutchinson, or on the opposite side, excuse me. And Yaya is not necessarily that level, right? Like Yaya is not an Aiden Hutchinson. So it'll be interesting what kind of steps he's going to be able to take to, kind of elevate himself. He's had a really interesting road to this point of his career. I'm not real sure on the specifics and things that happened, but I know there's injury histories. I know that he didn't play in years. I know he played 1 year in Chicago and was pretty decent there before, obviously exploding onto the scene this past season with Detroit with 11 sacks. But real interesting career when you kind of dig into the weeds of it. And hopefully, it's an elevation here. I mean, he's kind of a big guy. Again, going with them wanting to get bigger here. And Alex Anzalone has played with him. He mentioned it during his opening press conference that he's excited to get to work with him again, called him a friend, I believe. So, not overly joyed with how that's kind of transpired the edge rushing room, but I think it's a solid pickup. I don't think it's going to hurt you at all and kind of elevate your floor a little bit.
Yeah, just looking at what we're going to see in the locker room, Yaya Diaby, and then this guy. This is a big size dude, man.
Oh yeah.
You've got the size out there. It's just going to be like you said earlier, River. He does better whenever he has somebody better than him on the other side. That's where it complements his play better. And they're really going to bank on Yaya Diaby to take a really big step, not a step, but a very big step in order to do that. Or you're just going to have to rely on him, Muhammad, to be that pure, edge rush one. But that's going to be the interesting factor in all of this. And like you guys said, you're going to have to look into the NFL draft for sure. And now it's paramount. There, you can't go grab a wide receiver, future wide receiver one anymore. You can't go to the offense anymore. You're looking at specifically your pass rush and whatever you do at the linebacker room. But there's some things that you do like about this guy. Just looking at some of the other stats on here, he was tied 11th in NFL, of course, with sacks. That's what we all look at when we're talking about edge rush. But only 41% of defensive snaps he had those 11 sacks, which is really impressive there, at least for the efficiency. Whenever he does come in, he's going to have a lot more snaps here with the Bucs, of course. But he totaled 53 pressures last season, which puts him in that same ballpark of Max Crosby, Brian Burns, which is something that you like. But that's also too something that Yaya Diaby was able to do on his end. And like you had mentioned there, I got it listed here on those games where he had three sack performances. But yeah,
should mention too while we're at it here, his pressure rate without Hutchinson didn't drop off drastically, right? Okay. He had a 15.59% pressure rate with Hutchinson on the field, 13.79 pressure rate with him off the field. So he was still fairly consistent in how often he was able to get to the quarterback. And I think that's an encouraging sign going forward when you're looking to pair him with another, what's going to be a rookie first round edge rusher the Buccaneers are going to have a lot of faith in to get some sacks and be that guy.
I mean, and these are all great things. Like these are things like I didn't have the chance when the news broke yesterday with Greg putting it out there, confirming it and such. I was out, not being able to see and dig into, stats, how successful he's at getting into the backfield or things like that. So this is all like really news to me. So these kind of like raise my level of, optimism when it comes to that room in that unit right now. And that's great. Like, I love to hear that. And Matt obviously saying, don't forget about David Walker. So this edge room is coming together a little bit, and they expected big things from David Walker. I mean, he was looking absolutely incredible up until the point that he got hurt. And so him coming back fully healthy is going to be huge. And then, trying to see what's going to happen with Braz and how you're going to use him. Anthony Nelson still TBD on what's going to happen there with him. So yeah, I mean, it's starting to round out pretty well. You're going to get another young guy in here, and it's starting to look good. It might not be the most name worthy, you're not having the JPPs, the Shaq Barretts coming off the edges, but these guys are
2025 Buccaneers legend Jason Pierre-Paul. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's looking like a solid group, and that's something that I'm happy with. Thrilled. No, I would have been thrilled if we would have landed one of the big guys, but again, saving money, cost effective. Can't really complain too much.
Yeah, and another 1-year deal here. I mean, you have the incentives there, but you're not pushing yourself into a hole here. You're not digging to yourself, all right, this is going to hurt me. It's a pretty cheap deal, but you are relying on him to have that same pedigree of last year's play. And if he can do that, it's just going to be, I think the biggest question is just going to see how he and Yaya Diaby works, if he can work off of Yaya or not. And he's going to have a lot more playing time as well. So it's going to be very interesting to watch. I'm going to go through a few things on here. And like we did talk about, it was brought up there from Matt on David Walker. Of course, that's a good point to bring up, because he's someone that the staff feels really high on. I believe Jason Light was talking about him during NFL Combine week, and the staff still feels like they've got something special with him and was a steal. And we saw it pretty early on when we were at those practices that, Walker's pretty special there. And whenever he had that knee injury, at first it didn't seem so serious. He was limping off the field and such. And then sadly, later on, we did get the news that he was going to be out for the remainder of the season due to that knee injury. But that would be great to see if David Walker can take another step there, because there was already something special there. And, to me, I feel like the ceiling might be even higher with Walker, or at least the floor, than what you have with Chris Raswell, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, he has the experience. I think we do have to remember that, Walker was a late round pick too. So the hope that he could come in and contribute, in a huge way, I think should be a little bit measured. But he showed a lot of experience in college. He showed a lot of great production in college, which is kind of the opposite of what Jason Light had been going for previously with some of these edge rushing picks and prospects, kind of like, high athleticism, high ceiling. Walker dominated in college where he was. So I think a high floor could be a really good thing for a rotational edge rusher like himself. And especially given that, we'll talk about this, I'm sure, all of these signings the Bucs are making are guys over 30 years old. They're not getting younger, they're getting a lot older. So it would be good to have some younger players in there that can kind of be back there and help rotate.
And they're not Tom Brady or Robert Gronkowski.
Right. But Alex Anzalone is over 30. Al-Quadin Muhammad's over 30. They just signed Miles Killebrew to be a backup safety and special teams guy. He's over 30, right? Aan Robinson, stuff like that. So interestingly enough, I think the Bucs are still going to have to rely on these younger guys, because right now they're bringing in experienced talent at value deals, which is a Jason Light classic, and it's great that he's doing that, and it definitely helps shore those needs. But they're not getting any younger, and the athleticism and the ceiling potential there, I think, is a little bit less than like a younger guy that would really be able to hit the ground running. So maybe Walker could do that, and that would be huge for Tampa Bay if that were the case.
Mm-hmm. This was already talked about earlier. Jay, thanks for hopping on here, yes. But River did bring that up early on and gave some good stats. Gave the nerdy stats. So if you like nerdy stats, scrub over a little bit earlier. I know you're on Twitter, so I don't think you can do that. But if you have a YouTube channel or a YouTube account, come over here, scrub to the early parts of it. But he did bring up, if you want River really quick.
Yeah, really quick. really quick. His EPA per play on defense is 3 times higher when Hutchinson was on the field. His pressure rate only dropped by about 2%, but should be noted here. 15.59% pressure rate with Hutchinson on the field, 13.79 without. He only played 29 pass rushing snaps without Aiden Hutchinson on the field. So 91% of his snaps were with Aiden Hutchinson present.
That's very limited
Data.
sample
Yeah,
size.
exactly. Extremely. Yeah. So we'll see. Is the answer. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, guys, drop some comments if you have anything or questions, topics that you want us to run through as we've been doing to begin this show. But we're going to keep moving here. We got a lot to talk about this morning. So let's go over to another defensive line product here. And this is Aan Robinson coming in, a big man in the middle. And he has signed with the Bucs on a 1-year, $10 million deal. This adds to the inside there, of course. With the loss of Logan Hall, which we'll talk about here in just a few, who just recently signed with the Houston Texans, who also had some interesting comments about why he signed with the Texans. But still, nonetheless, with Robinson here, he recorded 65 total tackles, which is a really impressive number for an interior defensive lineman, definitely of his size. But he was credited with 36 stops, which is tackles that constitute a failure for the offense, ranking him among the top interior defensive linemen and run defense, or really just interior linemen at all. But then he maintains a career missed tackle rate of only 6.6%, meaning if he gets his hands on a ball carrier, the play is over. He recorded 31 pressures last season for the Panthers, resulting in an 8.3% pressure rate, nearly 3% actually higher than his career average, which is something worth noting. And he also played in all 17 games last season. He had 658 snaps, so he can take on a big workload. He can stay healthy for you there. And to be honest with you, whenever we were previewing Panthers games for the Bucs, when we were talking about something that stood out to us on that Panthers defense, because there was a lot of holes that needed to be fixed for the Panthers defense, defensive line was not one of them. That was one that was going to always be a factor of making a big impact against the Buccaneers offensive line. But gentlemen, y'all's thoughts here on a fellow Robinson signing with the Buccaneers?
I like it, but I think the price might be a little steep. Just like a slight overpay, not huge and drastic by any means, but it's a big dog in the middle, right? Like that you talk about getting bigger. That's a big boy in the middle that is going to be able to stop the run for you. And the Buccaneers struggled with that last season. We were able to see it. They were gashed here and there from time to time. And that's mostly because you're playing a guy like an Elijah Roberts, who's a rookie, with Kalijah Kancey being out next to Vita Vea, and Vita Vea is having to eat up doubles every single time, which opens up holes. So that's unfortunate. And then you don't have linebackers, obviously, that are able to fill gaps the proper way. But yeah, this is going to help out tremendously. I mean, look at this guy. He is a tough. We talked about, before on prior shows that we need some edge, we need some juice, we need some aggressiveness on this defense. Somebody who's going to be able to speak their mind and not, let shit fly. And this is that type of dude.
That costs money, Caleb.
It costs money, and maybe that's where that overpay comes in. But you're gonna get run stopping. He's able to generate a little bit of pressure up the middle too, which the Buccaneers have always been good at. So he's gonna fit right in. I think probably would have fit in a little bit better in a different defensive scheme. But they're gonna make it work. They're gonna figure things out, and I think Todd Bowles is gonna love this guy.
Yeah, I think you said the brunt of it. Really good, strong veteran that can add a good locker room presence. And outside of that, he's had his most productive years in the NFL the last 2 years with the Carolina Panthers. It's rare that anybody gets better when they're 30, but it does mean that he can kind of really adjust to a scheme that fits him, and he can perform very well in the role that he is asked to play. In this case, like you mentioned, right beside Vita Vea, I would think pretty positively about his ability to help stuff the run, which I imagine will be his primary objective here in Tampa Bay. But on top of that, he had 5.5 sacks 2 years ago. He had 2.5 last year. Decent numbers for an interior lineman. Like you said, Logan, he racks at the tackles. And he's had a lot of experience in the NFL. He's played a lot of ball. Really strong veteran to kind of bring to the line, especially filling in for a guy he can do kind of Logan Hall thing, but he can also kick inside as well. So some versatility there that he can bring. And I think it's a pretty good signing for the depth. It's the type of signing they needed to shore up that interior line. They do still need to continue to do that, especially in the draft and maybe one more signing here or there. But this is a really good start, and I think he'll do very well, especially with Greg Gaines almost certainly gone. We haven't heard anything about him going to a new team. Doesn't look like he's going to come back to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and I take offense, River, to you saying that not many people get better after they turn 30. I'm 31, and I'm starting to excel.
That's true. You're hitting your stride. So
yeah, he's rolling right now.
That's my bad. I'm still a few years away. But yeah.
Watch yourself. What did you say in our other episode? Who were you talking about? Who was that? I forget now.
I
promise I'm not ageist. I'm just talking about football, guys.
River seems to do that, man. Glad you catch those things, though, River. Caleb.
We need to start a dialogue around my language used here on the Bucs game day.
I forget. It was last week. It was last week. He said, "It's not a good." He was like, "It's not good." It was like he's not a good.
Oh, someone.
He's like not a good player.
Oh yeah. I incorrectly assumed. I believe it's the quarterback for Arkansas. Whose name I can't remember. But I accidentally used the term waste a pick. Yeah, which is not what I meant to say. Not what I meant to say. I actually like him quite a bit. I was trying to talk about like, hey, in the 5th and 6th rounds, those quarterbacks don't usually pan out and be the guy. But phrased it incorrectly for Freudian slip. My bad. Too. There was a guy in the chat who was a really big fan of him. I like him too. Did not mean that. My bad. Yeah.
Oh man, Taylor Green, man, poor Taylor Green.
Taylor Green, there he is. Taylor Green. Well, now the Bucs have Jake Browning. So
that is true.
Maybe not need to draft Taylor Green anymore and potentially waste a 5th or 6th round pick on him. Yeah, there you go.
Now River feels way better.
I like my SEC guys. Taylor Green, like him, but Bucs set at backup quarterback. Yeah,
as long as they're not a Georgia player, you're good.
As long as they're not a Georgia player, that's true. Or LSU, or Tennessee, or
now you're starting to add up.
Or maybe Ole Miss. Yeah,
you're starting to add them up, man. Okay. Real quick though, since I know the big comparison is us talking about him and Logan Hall. Speaking on Robinson here, so let's look through some quick stats here. So in 2025, Robinson had 65 total tackles. Logan Hall had 39. Yeah. 2.5 sacks for Robinson, 1.5 for Logan Hall. Quarterback pressures around that same boat, 31 to 32, but these are interior defensive line. You're not looking at that specifically. But in that same boat as Logan Hall, who, as we're going to look at it here, weight-wise, it's a lot different. He's, I would say, more athletic. Logan Hall plays at a lower weight at 283, where Robinson plays at 320. Run stop, at least per PFF, he's ranked, or he's got a PFF, what was that, 34? Which is tied for 10th in the NFL. Logan Hall, 14. Missed tackle rate, though, 7.4%, whereas Logan Hall is at a 12.8.
Not surprising if you watch Logan Hall.
Yeah. So now that's when you think of Hall, that's kind of what stands out to you the most throughout at least his entire career with the Bucs. But yeah, I thought I'd bring those things up because I know that's one, when you're seeing him go off Hall, he's going with the Texans, you're like, how are you going to replace that? Who is going to be that? I think you certainly filled that, but you might have even upgraded a good bit. And, I think it's a solid addition there to match next to Vita Vea, who, and then also too, you got to add in Kalijah Cansey. This guy, the biggest thing with him is always just staying healthy, man. Just stay healthy because that's your versatile defensive interior lineman. That's your most athletic guy that can work his hands well. And so, this is a nice trio of your interior right here starting off. I think your floor got lifted here, gentlemen.
Yep, absolutely. And definitely upgrade over Logan Hall. There's times where you would see Logan and he just kind of looked like he was stuck in the mud, or just, Superman trying to tackle, somebody getting outside and not even close. So this guy's a veteran. Yeah, I liked Logan and what he was able to do, but this guy is going to elevate it even more and kind of be a better fit there.
Mm-hmm. This is a question here on YouTube asking, this is from Low Country Pirate saying, I know I'm probably in the minority, but I like the moves. Don't overpay, and hopefully the additions work out. We could be one season away from a rebuild, so played it the right way. What's y'all's mentality on this if you're Jason Light? Does he think this is the process that he's doing right now?
It's the process he's done, I think, ever since he's been GM. Outside of the Brady years were a fever dream of like Tom Brady would point at someone and he'd be like, "Yeah, sure." But
that's not even Jason, in my opinion. That's all spy tech. That's
right.
In my personal opinion. I put all of that onto spy.
Well, either way, once Brady leaves, he gets really into value signings, which that's kind of what he's done every year. He doesn't want to get a big splash. He wants to get guys that are cheaper who can, have a high production floor, and that's what all this is, right? And these are starters that he's bringing on. Alex Anzalone will start. Kenneth Gainwell will probably split reps with Bucky Irving, so he'll get plenty of touches. The guys like that are very Jason Light signings in that they are not splash signings that affect the cap too far down the future, but they will help out immediately in theory. Like I said, my only concern's kind of with their age, but their experience, they've played the position, and they'll be able to fit in, I think, pretty well. So from that perspective, yes, I do like these moves. I think they need a lot more moves, I think is my thing. They need a lot of help on defense. And they've put a little small dent into it with these signings. So they got a lot to do in the draft, and they got to do a lot in free agency, maybe after the draft, post-draft FA. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I'm at with River too. I'm more frustrated with the things that haven't been done than with the things that have been done up to this point. And I think most Buccaneers fans out there, most of our listeners that are out there are probably in agreement with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's another question, real quick one here from Eric on Facebook saying, are we going to draft a wide receiver now because of losing Mike Evans?
If you did, it would have to be fairly later in the draft. You did get Emeka Egbuka last year, probably way too early, but he still had some flashes of brilliance last year, which is nice. And he doesn't have any social media except for Instagram. Remember that. I think it's
that was some crazy stuff there the other day.
I think it's important.
The whole I don't believe in
even real.
Bucs comms had to shut that one down quick, but the Bucs comms tagged that account like 60 times, which is crazy.
Yeah, their main social media account too.
Exactly. Nuts.
It could have been worse timing for that, by the way. I was like, oh my god.
Not right now, please.
Not right now. And Emeka Egbuka could end up playing outside. They got to get someone to play outside. It could be Jalen McMillan. I think I've been talking about that with a few different people. But Mike Evans is an ex-wide receiver, really good at possession catches, underrated route runner, which people on the national stage are going to see once he balls out in San Francisco. But they don't have that archetype right now on the team. They do need like an wide receiver. They have a bunch of like guys that are great in the slot, space finders in the middle of the field. They need a burner. Tez Johnson can kind of do that, but he's not very big, so those contested catches is what ends up being a problem. If they were to draft a receiver, it'd have to be a big-bodied guy who they could get in later rounds who might be able to kind of fill that archetype if they need it. A red zone guy, a go ball guy.
Let's trim up Devin Culp. Trim him up. Get him trimmed. So
that's especially field. In the red zone. That's a potential as well. So they've got some options, but they might. It's looking like this draft might be the exact same draft they had last year, where they drafted like 5 defenders and then 2 offensive players. I think 4 defenders, 2 offensive players, but it could be the same thing. You could get a wide receiver late, like they do with Tez. But it should be almost all defense, guys. Almost all defense in the draft, especially early on, those initial rounds, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all defense. You need interior. You need an edge rusher. You need a linebacker. You still need another linebacker, in my opinion. Regardless of whether or not Levante David returns to the team, you still need a linebacker. So that's going to be a defense-heavy draft, and then maybe in the later rounds, we can think about offense and wide receiver.
Yep. And I'll make this easy. That's a no. No, it's just not happening. If you are going to go get a wide receiver, do it in the free agent. There's still guys out there like a Juwan Jennings.
Still are. That's true.
Yes. Juwan Jennings, probably going to be a little bit more expensive. Keenan Allen, kind of that ex-wide receiver that Mike Evans is kind of known for. They do the exact same thing pretty much. Or you can wait till after the draft and see, what's happening with undrafted guys or, the free agent market when guys get cut after the draft. But no, you don't go out there and get a wide receiver. You don't necessarily need them. You sign Shep, sign Unk, get him back. And you know, you can test that out and go from there. Devin Culp obviously can be involved a little bit more, especially in the red zone. So, no, you don't need to get a guy in the draft.
I would really like to see more of Colt, man. I don't know. I was speaking with him at the locker room cleanouts, and you know, kind of just the generic things that he wants to work on during the off season, and you know, working with his body and such. But you know, I think the biggest thing, at least from what we've heard, is just getting down with the offense, getting down the plays, understanding where he needs to be, also to help in the blocking scheme, because of course defensive coordinator is going to know if Culp's out there on the field, you know, you're most likely looking at a pass play with him. So getting in there where he can work more on the blocking schemes of things could help him. But he certainly is a threat. He could do some good things for you in the red zone. He's got some good size on him. He's got great speed as a tight end. So, but they certainly will have to find out what that answer is going to be at the wide receiver position, because I think there is a hole there now with Mike Evans leaving for sure.
Low country pirate,
at least with size. Funny. What's happening?
Tim Patrick. Interesting name.
Would be interesting. Would be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I think there are definitely some options that they can take to try and fix this, but we'll see if they end up doing any of those things. So Tim Patrick, you know,
that's a very underrated name.
Oh, he's played a lot of places. I mean, he's with Jacksonville. He's played for Detroit too. There's a lot of Detroit guys.
Denver, I think. Yeah.
So, yep, Denver. So
what
would be a big body guy. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
What about Sean Tucker? You want to go talk about Sean Tucker real quick, because that was one
I'd rather talk
very curious about. There's nothing. Is there anything else to talk about really, except for Sean Tucker? But yeah, he's going to be signing back with the Bucs, at least on a tender deal
for now.
Yeah,
for now.
Yeah, for now, projected $3.5 million deal there, and it got interesting because of Gainwell coming in from the Steelers. And I don't know, a lot of these, there's so much that has happened. So some of these contracts, I'll just put it out there. Kenneth Gainwell signed on a 2-year, $14 million deal. But here's, you know, Sean Tucker coming in, and, you know, this running back room is loaded. Certainly too, if Bucky Irving can stay healthy and not deal with what he had to go through last year. But y'all's thoughts on the kind of situation here as we're monitoring Sean Tucker and what that's going to look like with a potential RB1, RB2, RB3, and it seems like you've got two capable starters there with Gainwell and Irving. Then you add in the splash of Tucker, which the staff certainly obviously likes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think Tucker is going to stay. I think in order to lure him away from Tampa Bay and beat that offer, you had to offer him 2 years, and I don't see a team offering him 2 years. So we will see how that goes. But I imagine he'll stay on that tender. The Bucs kind of need a power back and a goal line back, and they tried to use Tucker like that last year, and he did rack up quite a few touchdowns that way.
Pitches.
But I do think he's more of a speed back. I think that's kind of his MO. And it'll be interesting to see where he fits in. It'll probably be similar to last year. I can't imagine he'll get a lot of touches, especially with Kenneth Gainwell will probably, by the way, sorry guys, Kenny. He prefers Kenny. Kenny Gainwell. Kenny G.
Okay.
Yeah. Some Carol Whisper stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Kenny Gainwell is probably going to take a good portion of these reps. I think he can spell Bucky for almost half his reps. I think they kind of know, and we all know, that Bucky Irving played a lot of snaps last year, and it got him hurt because he's not that big. So with that in mind, I think Gainwell's going to get a lot of work. I don't know how much Tucker's going to be able to do. They might try and use him on the goal line again, but I do really feel like he's not much of a power back. I consider him much more of a speed back, and maybe that's where those pitches and kind of swings can come in handy. But we'll see what he's able to do in Tampa Bay. I imagine he'll have a pretty small role, just like he did last year, definitive RB3.
Yeah, I agree. I think his role will probably diminish a little bit more compared to what he was able to see last year. I think Rashad White kind of fell out of favor in favor of, Tucker a little bit more there. So now Tucker's back. You're probably getting a little bit better with Kenneth Gainwell over, when it comes to the run game and in the passing game as well. Maybe not when it comes to pass blocking over Rashad White with Kenny. So that's great. And then I think it's going to be awesome to see. I think it's kind of going to go back a little bit to how we were seeing it split when Cohen was here between Rashad and Bucky during that time, right? It was a little bit more even snaps, a little bit more shares, which is going to be fun, right? You're not going to know it's kind of going to be hidden, right? You're not going to know, are the Buccaneers going to pass the ball? Are the Buccaneers going to run the ball? And because it's going to be, hey, at any point you could have one of these guys on the field and not understand, maybe they're going to go out in the flat, maybe they're going to run, a go route, whatever it may be, or all of a sudden they're running the ball. And it could be, you could have two back systems, right? You could run with Kenny G and Bucky back there, or Bucky and Sean, or whoever it may be. It's going to be a very dynamic, versatile group, which is going to be exciting to see. And that's something that was very successful under Liam Cohen. That wasn't as much last season.
Yeah, and I'm sure Zach Robinson is really liking this too. And I think of always the best team that was able to do it was with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I mean, those two, that combo would just slice you in games, man. I mean, we saw it. We've seen it before. And out of nowhere, you see Montgomery just gushing you. And then out of nowhere here on this next series, have a piece of this pie of Jahmyr Gibbs and just going to run right by you.
Sonic and Knuckles, baby.
Yeah, and
the duo's not together anymore. Yeah, it sucks.
Yep, they're separated. They're separated, and Gibbs. I mean that man. I mean, we Bucs fans have seen it. The explosive plays that he brings to the table. So,
Bucs fans might remember the last time the Lions and Bucs played, and he had about 6 trillion all-purpose yards. I think was the number. Yeah,
yeah, and it's going to be interesting when next time we talk to Zach Robinson how he feels about how the usage is going to go in this running back room. I would imagine, like you said, Caleb, I think it might be more open-minded to kind of how it's going to look like game to game. You're not going to have a pure RB1 and name Bucky Irving your pure RB1. And we'll get to Rashad White here in just a minute. He just found a new home. Here's a few other notes. Of course, we were talking about it early. Jake Browning has now Baker Mayfield's backup coming from the Bengals, where he backed up Joe Burrow for so long and did a very well job at it. But he's
sure
coming
to give his wife a follow on TikTok.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Is there some crazy thing with the wife going on and like social media? I don't know. She makes some.
She went viral. What was it? Last year, 2 years before, whenever he became like the starter when Burrow went down, she was wearing like these outrageous outfits. Remember, she had like the all silver one with like the big Bengal bee on it, and everybody was like, "Whoa, like what is going on?" But
yeah. We're gonna have another bee here. You can keep that.
She's super
going,
stoked
bring
to
it back.
be coming to Tampa too. So
okay. Yeah, River follows on TikTok, so if anybody wants any insight to that, River's got all the insight.
I don't even have TikTok, guys. So
it falls on the oldest one's here's shoulders. I got it, boys.
Yeah, I was about to say the oldest one here, he's got us on the updates.
I ain't got internet. I ain't got internet, guys. I ain't got internet.
No internet. Well, I don't know how you're on.
I'm off the grid.
You're using
Starlink.
Whatchamacallit, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Starlink. You're on Starlink, aren't you?
There you go.
But yeah, Jake Browning's coming to back up Baker Mayfield there.
Yep.
Miles Killebrews coming from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Great pickup there in special teams. They've really, if you're talking about emphasis of upgrading the special teams, man, that has happened this offseason for them. But they're bringing in Killebrew, an all-pro special teams piece there as well. And I think that's practically everyone, at least from what we've caught up from on Monday when a lot of those moves were happening. Those were the guys that were coming in for the Bucs. Now let's talk about the guys that have exited. We'll talk about Mike Evans a little bit further here in just a minute because we're going to talk about what he had to say at his 49ers introductory press conference. Let's go over here. We'll start off with Jamel Dean. This is one that we were keeping an eye on if the Bucs were going to make a move here to keep him in Tampa after a solid season. But he ends up signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers on a 3-year contract, $36.7 million for Dean. Him staying healthy for the majority of the season last year, and also with his play certainly helped with that contract, gentlemen.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
It sucks to lose Dean, obviously, but we weren't going to be able to retain him by any means. I'm happy that he's landed in a place like Pittsburgh. I think that's going to be a great fit for him. I'm happy he got paid. It's going to suck not having him here, but I think overall I'm just happy for him. I mean, he did a wonderful job here, won a Super Bowl, and just wish him the best of luck. I mean, we'll sorely miss his veteran presence and his lockdown ability, especially in man-to-man coverage. And we'll see if, Benjamin Morrison can kind of take that next step and become that guy opposite of Zion McCollum that Dean was.
I mentioned.
That's the concern.
Yeah, I mentioned. Right now. I had a top 5 list of free agents, like from most important to least important, or least important to most important to retain. My number one most important to retain was Jamel Dean, and that was because I'm not super comfortable with Benjamin Morrison and Zion McCollum starting outside next year, and that's what's going to happen. They just actually restructured Zion McCollum's contract, so they're actually kicking his contract down the road, which I thought was an interesting thing to do, given what we've seen the last 2 years from him, but they're expecting him to be a bona fide CB1 or CB2 here in Tampa Bay next year. And I figure with Dean's loss, you're going to have to fill that gap somehow. If you don't want to start a replacement, which is looks like that's what's going to happen, you still need a depth corner to be able to slot in there, because right now the depth is razor thin. Benjamin Morrison, injury prone throughout his last few years playing at football, so that's something to note. And Zion McCollum has just he'll have these bouts of excellence, and then you'll see him get distracted on the field. You'll see the play taper off, his ability to be in one-on-one coverage and all this stuff. So it's going to be important to get another DB, and I think Jamel Dean being gone is more important than many realize. I think because I think that is a really important position to have secure. He played his best football last year. I understand why they didn't re-sign him, because he kind of played himself out of a contract, but they're going to have to replace him.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of add on to that, it is a thin class. And I woke up this morning, I was like, where else do the Buccaneers, like, where are they lacking? And it's obvious that cornerback needs some things, and it's concerning, right? Like, it's concerning that you don't have any like good depth. First and foremost, Zion has not played out into what we have thought he's supposed to be. Benjamin Morrison, still there's concerns surrounding him, his injury history. Even when he was in the game, he still had his moments. So hopefully he's able to be healthy. But as mentioned here by EM Plus 15, Peter Report did put out some guys earlier this morning after I put out my tweet talking about, cornerbacks are concerned. Then Peter turns around and throws out Emerson and Rasul Douglas, names to watch. Obviously, Emerson is coming off that Achilles injury, but a couple of guys there that you could probably get for cheap that are still on the block.
Yeah, that fall off from Zion was disturbing and just didn't feel of character of him. And he was honest with us, and it was just like, hey, I've got to fix some things, and sure enough, he does. But just something it is a concerning thing, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of moves they do make throughout the rest of this offseason, because you do have a lot of injury concerns with both these guys, specifically Morrison coming from his college days. But Zion just got to play better, and he was getting eaten alive.
That and catch the ball.
Yeah, that would certainly help to get to the jug machine. We already talked about Logan Hall, but here's the specifics on him. He's going to the Houston Texans and on a 2-year deal for $13.7 million there for him. And he also did mention, I don't have the exact quotes here, but he did mention, he wanted to sign with a team that he felt like was competitive enough to be a contender to get to a Super Bowl. It seems to be a trend of a few players that we've heard of that have signed elsewhere. Also, too, Christian Izzian, he's going to the Lions. This is the one that we've been eyeing very closely too, but he signed a 1-year deal over there with them in Detroit. Outside of the last couple of years, the Bucs playing Detroit a lot. The Lions have had a good eye on Izzian, and he gets a really good opportunity here because at least from him and his camp, it always felt like he wanted to get some more playing time out there. And I don't blame him. I don't think anybody on here blames him whatsoever for it. And we kind of heard some things right after the season too of, saying, I do want to get more playing time. And sure enough, it looks like he's going to try to do that with the Lions up in Detroit.
Yeah, a lot of Lions and Bucs exchange so far this year. We got Aan Robinson in here. We got Alex Anzalone in here. We got Miles Killebrew in here, former Lion. And then, of course, Christian Izzian going to play for them over there. So
you can even go back to Carlton Davis, and, all
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. Indeed. Truly partners in the former NFC Central. But, yeah, they feel really strongly about J.J. Roberts, who was here last year, suffered a knee injury in a joint training camp against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they feel like he can do that same sort of thing that Izzian was here to do, which is to be a fill-in at safety and at nickel if needed. In drastic instances, play outside I think that happened like once or twice, but you're in a bad spot if that's what's happening. But really good fill, jack of all trades, master of none. I think if he wants more playing time, leaving was the right decision. He wouldn't have gotten it here in Tampa Bay, especially with Roberts hopefully being healthy again this year. They really like him. They think he can be that Izzian type player for them. Thus, Izzian goes to the Lions.
Yeah, and you got Parrish sitting down there at nickel. Tyke moved to safety. There's like
and Tyke can play nickel, and Antoine can play nickel.
Anybody,
So,
right? It's a versatile defense. Todd Bowles loves those type of guys. Swiss Army knife, if you will. It's the term that's used over and over again, but deservedly so. For Christian, he's going to be able to go get more burn, and that's good for him. He's going to be able to prove it and show what he was able to show early on in his career once he was given the opportunity to start as an undrafted free agent. So good for him.
Forgot to mention too for the Lions, Teddy Bridgewater going over there, going back to
exactly.
Detroit. Yes,
exactly.
And I didn't really mention this with Jake Browning coming in, but that floor immediately has lifted too for your backup.
Fairly considerably.
That's really important here, gentlemen, because I think that changes some things in the philosophy for the Bucs. Let's say, and you don't want it, we're going to knock it. This is wood desk right here, but knock on wood, just hope, Baker does not get hurt, or unless it's just a small little thing where he has to miss a game or two. I feel way more confident with Browning going out there than what I had with Teddy Bridgewater, and that's just a complete fact.
100p, bro. 100p.
Yeah. So, real quick though, let's go over to Rashad White, because this is one that was practically. If we're talking about who was saying that they wanted to go elsewhere right after the season, well, that might have been Rashad White, because he put out plenty of tweets. I mean, he tweeted planes flying off, like he was already leaving Tampa about 24 hours after the season ended for them, but he's going to the Washington Commanders. One that that if you're going to do your percentages of chances that he was going to, which team he was going to go to, it was a 90% lean to Washington, and he has signed a 1-year deal. Do we have the monetary?
$2 million.
$2 million.
1 year, $2 million. Yeah. Potentially could have taken less money to play for Washington if that's what he really wanted. I actually kind of heard some whispers midway through the year last year. That's kind of what he wanted to do. And then he made it very not subtle toward the end of the year last year. So like making Jaden Daniels' his profile picture on and stuff like that. So he gets where he wanted to go. He gets to play with Jaden Daniels on a extremely cheap 1-year deal. So a lot of no-brainer for Washington, I should say.
That's easy for them. Yeah, like why not?
Really easy for them. Why not at that point?
There you go. You'll take anything. Come on in.
White's a really good pass blocking back. He's got some versatility there in the passing game as well as a receiving back. A little bit of trouble running through the gaps, but he's improved on that. He definitely did last year. So I think he's a pretty good back. Should do well for Washington. They got him for extremely cheap. But yeah, it was about time in Tampa Bay. He was thinking about that Washington move for a little bit, I think.
I think ultimately he had to do a little bit more like selling of himself to the organization than the organization actually wanted him in the building, which is why it came in at $2 million instead of, he probably deserved closer to like 6 or something like that. If we're realistically speaking, 4 to 6 range, maybe a little bit per year. And again, great point here by Low Country Pirate. They are still involved with the Jeremiah Love sweepstakes there. Jeremiah Love's probably not going any lower than 8. The 2 teams to watch there with him are the Tennessee Titans at 4, and obviously the Washington Commanders there at 7. So he could still be in a position where he is losing playing time right now on that roster. Under contract is just Rashad White and Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, aka Bill. So those are your 2 backs. They've still got Austin Eckler, Jerry McNichols there as free agents, but Chris Rodriguez Jr. just left to sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So they're still looking to fill out that running back room there as well. So interesting to see what will happen with White, but he does get a chance to reunite with Jaden Daniels. And then if Brandon Ayuk ends up going there, then they've got the 3 guys from Arizona State back.
Arizona State reunion, man. Let's get it all together. Get the band together, man. But just
Brandon Ayuk is still furiously pounding on the door, asking to be free over there in San Francisco. So
they're not going to give it to him, man. Like they are not.
Yeah, he's probably upset that Rashad White successfully manifested his way there, and now he's trying to do the same thing, and it's out as well. Yeah. They have no reason to. They have no reason to just give him up. So that'll be an interesting situation.
Right. Like, because he has no, the tidbit on IU, because he has no guarantees right now because of him losing contact with the whole front office and coaching staff. They were able to avoid all of that guaranteed money that he was due. So releasing him doesn't do them anything. So why not try and find a trade partner and hold on to him as long as they can?
Right.
100%. Speaking of wide receivers, let's finish it off here in our last 10 minutes of the show, and appreciate everybody hanging out with us. And if you do have any quick comments, like questions, topics,
don't ask.
In the
Put it in the chat.
We're going to put River full screen. He's going to answer here for the next 24 hours. He's doing a full 24
hours.
He's doing a subathon. It's a subathon.
It's a subathon.
Yes.
Speaking of subathon, smack that subscribe button.
Yes.
Smack the subscribe button.
Thank you, Vinkus and Low Country Fire, for the subs. We're going to keep going.
Every 10 subscribers, you're going to do up downs for.
It's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. No, please go ahead. Ask questions about free agency. We love to answer them. We love to talk about the Bucs, obviously. Yeah. So a lot of fun. We have fun here.
Yes, as long as it's not about the NFL draft and Taylor Green, then River will answer any questions that you have.
I'll take Taylor Green questions.
No Taylor Greens.
I'll take them. I'm ready.
All right, let's jump over here to Mike Evans to finish this off. Yeah. And it was a pretty rough last 24 hours, I would say, for the Bucs fan base to see this. I mean, both of you guys living down here in Tampa, I'm not personally a fan of the Bucs, so it doesn't hit anywhere close to how it hits, you guys. And I know you guys are, reporters, and you do a great job of trying to be unbiased and everything. But you guys grew up here, family Buccaneers fans and everything. Just tell me what it felt like just to see him. First off, being in San Francisco, but then, of course, getting the signing photo out there, and then, seeing him in just a different place and not being at one Buc. It's just got to feel a little weird, man.
I think weird's a good way to put it. Surreal, even from a reporting perspective. We've talked to Mike quite a few times. I've met and talked to Mike quite a few times. Talked to him after he extended 2 years ago in free agency. Talked to him in the locker room, through interviews, very thoughtful answers to questions. And obviously the work he's done in the Tampa Bay community is very significant. So it's just a presence around Tampa Bay in general. It's just not going to be there. It's the absence that's going to be pretty weird, I think. But we've talked about this so many times. I think he definitely deserves the right to go do that, to find a place where he can compete. Luke Easterling, who I was the editor at BucsWire after he left in 2023. Great dude covering the Bucs here in Tampa Bay. I thought made a pretty good post about it, saying Mike wasn't going to sit down for a retirement farewell tour where the team was struggling. He wasn't going to be paraded around in his last year and cheered on by fans for everything he did. He wants to go compete. He wants to win football games. He wants to win championships. And the 49ers offer him a better chance to do that than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do. So I don't blame him one bit for it. I understand it. He did mention that he thinks they're one piece away, and he's the one piece. I think that's debatable, but he is certainly a hell of a piece. So we'll see what he can do over there in that wide receiving room. He definitely transforms the landscape of that Shanahan offense and what Shanahan can do in that offense. So it will be fun to watch. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it hurt. Just seeing it come across the timeline, and he's sitting there with, his family, his kids, and he's signing, and then he's doing the video for their fan base, and he just seems like he's trying to figure it all out on the fly because he's so used to saying, what's going on, crew, and he doesn't really know what to call. He's like, I'm sure he's not even thinking, bang, bang, Niner gang or anything like that. Like, he's just kind of still trying to acclimate himself, and you can just tell that it's different for him, right? Like it's a new step, a new era in his own journey of his career. And as much as it hurts, right? Like, you can't help but be happy for the guy. He does deserve it. Obviously, it wasn't about money. You could hear that in his sentiments in his press conference, in his introductory press conference, and
the deal he signed. Yeah,
and the deal he signed. I mean, the deal was way less than. I mean, he was making $20 million each year when he signed that 2-year contract. And then he's making $14 million for 1 year, and about half of that being taken by the state of California. So pretty tough. Obviously not about money, but he talked about wanting to be competitive. He doesn't feel that, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were as competitive as, the potential that the San Francisco 49ers are to be able to contend for a Super Bowl. The head coach probably comes into effect here as well, kind of losing that trust, losing all that with Todd Bowles. And then you're seeing that you've got Kyle Shanahan, who's going to put you in very advantageous situations on the offensive side of the ball. There's no brainer there, in my opinion, on which I would choose. So I can only imagine it from his side of things. And then there's the subtleness of, I want to play at a place that has, a really big fan base, or a fan base that's got energy behind it, and things of that nature. And not saying that, Levi Stadium is this crazy raucous crowd that brings, the juice every single week in and out, but they do fill that stadium every single week. They do have the majority of their own fans in that stadium every single week, which is not how it is here in Tampa. And that's kind of unfortunate, right? Like, you don't want to hear that. You hate to hear that, especially being from, like, myself and River, who have been Tampa Bay fans our entire lives, right? Like, we have bled this our entire lives, and we hate having to hear that. But I mean, that's kind of the reality of it. You've got a franchise in San Francisco that has deep roots in history in football. And, Tampa's kind of, just reached 50 years. Yeah, we have 2 Super Bowls, but we're not entrenched into the blue bloods of this league. So they're all, warranted reasons for him to want to go there. And him seeing John Lynch, it was just kind of hard because, John being here and then ended up leaving too. So just is what it is, man. I'm happy for him. I wish him nothing but the best, but it definitely hurt. But we'll see what he's able to do. Hopefully he's able to continue and continue to produce at a very high level. I would hate to see kind of his career go south now that he's left, but he'll always be welcome back at the end of the day. Whenever he does decide to call it quits, you go ahead and bring him back on a 1-year contract or whatever it may be. They go ahead and get him to retire as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Mm-hmm. So here's what specifically he did say on the 49ers fan base. He says, every time I come up to Levi's Stadium and I see how the crowd is and I see the energy that they bring, it just excites me. I played here as an opponent, and you can feel that it's different. The passion that they have for the team is undeniable. The fan support was a big part of it. When you're at this stage of your career, you want to play in a place where the city is behind you and every Sunday feels like a playoff atmosphere. I'm looking forward to finally having the energy on my side. Now, you got to note, too, Mike Evans went through some really brutal years with the Bucs. I mean, you're talking where this team was bad. It wasn't a great one, but he, of course, was the biggest light of it. But still, nonetheless, wins, puts asses in seats, and puts your actual specific fan base into those seats. Not until, you started seeing the run there whenever Tom Brady came in. That immediately, I mean, they had to add more seats into the stadium just because Tom Brady was coming in to play. And not only really, even when Tom Brady came, like, you didn't even have to be a Bucs fan to go, you want to go watch Tom Brady play because he's in that area in Florida. So he's I don't know if it's necessarily talking about the current now for the Bucs, because I do think it's gotten better, but you do see where it's you got the Eagles coming in, you got Lions fans coming in, like you've got so many different teams, the Steelers, that will be later, but there will be always that issue with other fan bases.
There will be.
Coming into Raymond James Stadium. And we always note that. That's something when we get into the press box, we're like, all right, well, let's see how this looks like. And
it's not only the fact that those teams travel well, but you think of the area, Tampa Bay, Clearwater, St. Pete, all of that. That's like a vacation home. A bunch of these snowbirds who are fans of these, teams from up north or from the Midwest, wherever it may be, they come down here and they have like their second home. And so they come down here and they're going to want to go to games when their team is playing. So that also, factors into that aspect of it.
According to the Census Bureau of the United States, 64% of people living in Florida were born in a state outside of Florida. And because of that, it means that they take their football teams they were a fan of from back home and they root for them here. So that's going to be a pretty big problem, I think, no matter how you spin it. The Dolphins have this problem. Any Florida team has this problem, right? So
Jacksonville, not as much because it's in downtown Jacksonville, and it's not a very fun place to be.
That's true. That's true. But if you are a traveling fan and you want to go to any road game, Florida is a very enticing destination to do so. The weather is usually not cold. It's very hot, but sometimes you just find that out when you get here. It's not cold. Cool location in Tampa Bay for sure, and a lot of fans like to travel here. And most of the fans that come that are taking over stadiums they live here, or they were born here, and their dad was a Lions fan, or their dad was a Steelers fan, or yada yada. So I think that's just about how it goes. Something you got to work with. It's unfortunate, but it is how it is.
Yeah, you got some blue bloods coming in. Of course, you've got the Steelers, like I had mentioned earlier. But
Steelers is always brutal. Packers is always brutal.
Packers is going to be a big one.
Lions, that's in Detroit.
Luckily, you're at Chicago.
That's true.
You're at Chicago. I mean, you're still here in an away game, of course, but man, there's a lot of people that live or are from Chicago that live down in this Tampa area for sure.
That's right.
But that's just something you're going to deal with. That's something that comes with it. But I mean, you can blame Mike for that. I don't think it's he's not specifically trying to take a jab at the Bucs fan base. I think it's really necessarily of him personal, what he wants to do, and he wants to play in front of a team, that kind of atmosphere, and that really gets him going. He's just built, like you were mentioning from Easterling, he's built on competitive nature. That is Mike. I mean, you saw him livid after that Atlanta Falcons game. You saw him livid on the sidelines right next to Todd Bowles. I still think that was where he kind of just said, all right, that's enough. I've had enough. I did all of this rehab. I did all of this shit to come back so quickly, and then you shit the bed on me like that.
That costs money, Logan.
Sure does. That just raised it up there.
Yeah, I want to note Greg Allman did tweet this. He said this quote makes more sense now. And it was Mike Evans at a charity event after the season had ended. He was asked about whether or not he was planning on retiring, and he said, Bucs fans were thanking him today as if he were retiring and writing him off like he was done after this one. We'll see. So I wonder if perhaps that had a little something to do with it as well.
It's ultimately just kind of a series of events. Unfortunate series of events per Lemony Snicket.
Crazy Paul.
Yeah. Crazy Paul. Yeah. Crazy. But I mean, it goes back to Liam. Like it's all 2024 and beyond that. And that's kind of, you start getting little cracks, and the cracks grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is what happens. You lose a legend because of bad decision making. And that's just where we are.
Mm-hmm. This dam might blow in 2026. We'll see. But one thing that we do love is that John just threw us a subscribe. Appreciate it, John. He says, though, he has a question. Bets on how many yards Mike gets in his first year with the 49ers.
I'm going to say something crazy. He's not going to get 1,000 yards. I think he's going to get a little bit under that, because my main thing is he's been able to play through this hamstring injury for most of his career. He's had a lingering hamstring sort of thing going on. The last 2 years, he's missed 8 weeks due to that hamstring injury. I think he's just at the point in his career where he's not able to kind of push through that. And so I think he might miss some games next year. That being said, I think he's going to be fairly dominant in this Shanahan offense as long as he stays healthy and, his athleticism hasn't dropped off. I think Mike's going to do Shanahan's going to do a lot of great things for him and scheme him up. I do think, as far as evolution, it's between McVay and Shanahan for, in your opinion, the best offensive coordinator and schemer in the NFL. I think Shanahan's just incredible. So I think he's going to find so many ways to use him and utilize him. So I'm thinking like a cool 900-yard season, like an 900-yard season. Probably a lot of touchdowns in the red zone. I'm predicting some touchdowns from Mike Evans. That goal line fade might make its way over there to San Francisco. We'll see what happens.
Sure will.
Yeah, Rivers taking the substation route. No. You took my number. Yeah, there we
There
go.
you go.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
tough. I know it's all jokes, and I obviously don't wish that upon Mike by any means, but it's definitely worrisome if you're over there. But yeah, I mean that was the number I was sitting at. I was sitting at 850. Like when that question came up, I was like probably 850, but he's gonna have like probably 9 touchdowns. So like he's going to make up for it in different ways, and that's fine. And he doesn't need 1,000 yards anymore unless he wants to keep chasing Jerry's total record, which I don't even think he's got that much burn left in him anymore to be able to reach that level. But yeah, probably around that 850 range with some higher touchdown totals.
Yeah, we've got one more question, and it's related to the future of Baker Mayfield. But I wanted to bring this up to you guys. During this show alone, we've gained 6 subscribers. So we deeply,
oh hell yeah, guys!
Y'all are the best. Y'all are the best. Thank you.
We deeply appreciate it a ton. We're trying to have more efficiency with these shows. They're easy for us to do, but whenever you guys are in the chat and interacting, a whole ton of engagement, as you know, that helps us a ton with getting us motivated to jump on here and do more of these throughout the week. We really do one of these, but maybe we'll do a couple throughout the week, or certainly if there's any kind of breaking news, we try to do these. But y'all coming in, showing some love, subscribing, it just helps to put our videos out there onto your feed more regularly. Also to just get some more fans. Up there goes another one.
Another one. Let's go.
Live subscriber. We appreciate it a whole ton. Also too, if you are a subscriber, throw it down in the chat below too for us, please. That would be.
And we got written word at BucsGameday.com. I'm on Twitter at River H Wells, giving you updates from One Buck Place whenever they happen. So our coverage spans out multimedia. So check us out. You know, we try and get you guys the best Bucs coverage we can give you. Make sure you guys know what's going on. So we appreciate the subscriptions, and we appreciate you guys watching.
Yeah, there's a ton of other great sites, and we're friends
with
you guys at Pewter Report that do a great job, and we try to collab. Maybe we'll do some collabs with them this off season, but everybody does a good job. So just to have you guys coming here, giving us your time definitely means a lot. But let's go to this last question here, and we'll finish off the show on this, and I'll get this off of here. But I don't know what I'm doing, but here I am. Welcome to the show. This is from Low Country Pirate asking, for River, do you think Baker is due for an extension, whether they do or don't draft a quarterback in next year?
This is a really, really good question. I think Baker being Schrodinger's quarterback makes this pretty interesting because the potential that we saw with him in the first half of the year with how he played at an MVP level was very impressive. And I think Liam Cohen got that type of play out of him consistently in a way that Josh Gazar wasn't able to. The back half of the year, he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. As far as deep accuracy, he was awful, missing throws, shaking the pocket, turnover-worthy plays. And we all have kind of operated under the assumption that he was injured and playing injured, and that's what caused that play. But I think there's some other factors at play when it comes to how he plays football. His deep accuracy has always been in question, I think, and he is always, of course, a guy that would rather hold on to the ball and try and make the play than perhaps throw it away or do anything like that. So I think it comes down to this. If he has a good season this year and the Buccaneers win the NFC South and they make the playoffs, I would expect probably an extension to happen because I think that means that most of the staff and the coaching and the people in charge will stay around. There's a possibility, though, that they go 8-9 or 7-10. They don't make the playoffs. I think if they have a disappointing season this year, I think Bowles and Light are gone. And at that point, you are resetting everything, hard reset. If you bring in a new coach and a new general manager, they're going to want to have their quarterback. And it probably won't be Baker Mayfield in that case. So I think the pressure's on for this team. I really do. I think everyone's kind of playing for their jobs in a way because I think Baker Mayfield knows he can't have a back half of the season like he had last year. He can't. I think Liam Cohen really knew how to utilize his particular strengths and make him a consistently performing quarterback. A lot of short game, yard after catch scheming. They didn't like him to throw deep like Josh Gazar did because he's a little bit shakier there accuracy-wise, making him comfortable with quick reads and throws instead of having him hold the ball too long. So I think he has some limitations, but I think if he plays well, they probably will. And if things go bad, and that could be because of the defense, guys. If the defense causes the Bucs to lose a lot of games, then I think he might be out anyway. So we'll see what happens. It's a crucial year for him, crucial year for Todd Bowles, crucial year for Jason Licht.
Yeah, just to add on to that, River said it perfectly. If it's a bad season, it's going to be full rebuild. That's kind of what it's going to be. But I am going to go out here and say that I fully expect that Zach Robinson is being in contact with Liam Cohen pretty heavily about how to turn things around and get Baker back on track. I think that is priority
They're good
number
friends.
one.
They're good friends.
And they're good friends. So that helps, right? And at least Liam's going to be able to pick up the phone for him and maybe not, anybody else. But so that's good. And I believe wholeheartedly that Baker performs his best whenever he is under pressure, not necessarily late in games or things of that nature, but when it's all on him, when everything's on his back, right? Like everything is weighted on his shoulders. So I think this is going to be one of those years where Baker last year, he's playing it out. He's like, oh yeah, we're going to have a similar season. It's going to be good. Then as we did in 2024, things didn't go that way. You could kind of see that luster in his eyes kind of disappear as the season unwound, and that chip on his shoulder kind of disappeared too, right? Like, so now that we've got this new juice in here, now we've got different things going on. We're going to have a different scheme compared to how we were running it with Josh Grizzard. We're getting back to, the basics, the things that we're good at, rather than trying to expand into things that we're not necessarily as good at. And so having that chip on his shoulder entering this year. So I think it's going to be a big bounce back year for him, ultimately, is what I'm trying to say. And with that, as long as you are able to get over the 500 mark, potentially make the playoffs, I think you absolutely have to put Baker onto another contract, especially with no real clear signs of, a successor for him.
Good stuff, gentlemen. Good stuff. Some good takes there on Baker, because that's going to be the big conversation as we head into this 2026 season. But some moves were made from the Bucs. They got a pass rusher to add into the defensive line. We know what they've done at the linebacker position, but now the big question will remain: what will happen with Levante David? We should get some answers pretty soon, I believe.
Hopefully, pretty soon. It's getting up there, man.
I was listening to WDAE, and they were saying that his agent was saying that it's going to be coming very, very soon, either later this week, which we're in that later part of the week, or over the weekend. So I would imagine either Saturday or Sunday, or maybe even today, we'll get some news on him. If that does happen, we of course will jump back on here and do our best to do a little instant reaction to that. But that is going to do it for us. We're over an hour here on the show, and we appreciate it a whole ton for you guys coming in. Appreciate all the new subscribers jumping in this last week, and including just today alone. Also, too, we tried to reach a goal of 25 likes. You guys have already just destroyed that. I think it's well over 30. So appreciate that a ton as well for the engagement, you guys showing some love and some questions. But that's going to do it from us here on Bucs Game Day. River Wells, Caleb Skinner, Logan Robinson, we're out of here on Here the Cannons. We'll see you guys soon, either a breaking news one or early next week on Here the Cannons. We're out of here. Peace.